Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. Well folks, it seems like this might be the end of the Joe Biden was actually president narrative. Seems like the whole thing is frickin' collapsing. At first, as per usual, right, it's always the same pattern of events. It was just a Republican talking point, a Republican conspiracy theory being built up by cheap fakes, edited videos. Joe Biden is totally in charge, guys, right? It went from a conspiracy theory to, well, obvious fact. Joe Biden was not the president. He was a puppet. And all the bills that he signed, all the pardons, all the executive orders, well, it seems we're learning he didn't even actually sign them. No, it was the autopen. It was his staffers running rampant with a presidential signature. And now it's all coming to light, and it seems like President Trump is now taking the unprecedented path of canceling all of Joe Biden's pardons and executive orders that were, quote, illegally signed by autopen. This is about to get real interesting. Let me show you guys what's going on, but this video is brought to you guys by Ground News, so let's first take a look. Well, folks, what can I say? It's not the first time I come to you with this sponsor. There's a reason why these ads are recurring on the channel. It's because I actually believe in this product. Ground News is simply the best news aggregator on the planet. It's a messy world out there, especially in the age of information. There's a lot of bad information. There's a lot of one-sided information. And so in order to navigate that information landscape, you need to be armed with the right tools. And that, my friends, is where Ground News comes into play. With Ground News' blind spot tool, you get to see everything, not just cherry-picked headlines that omit the facts. No, you get to see the entire display of mainstream media reporting. And on the blind spot page, it happens on a by-story basis. You get to see what the right-wing outlets, the left-wing outlets, and even the center outlets are all reporting. In other words, you get to see what the mainstream media doesn't want you to see. I'm telling you, the blind spot feed is absolutely tremendous. It gives you the full news picture across all stories that are dropping in the news cycle. And so if you're tired of being spoon-fed half-truths, well, you simply need Ground News in your toolkit. And of course, here's the pitch. We've teamed up with Ground News to get you guys 40% off of their Vantage plan. That's their top-tier subscription plan. And to get access to this incredible promotion, all you got to do is scan the QR code on screen or simply click the link down in the description, which will take you to ground.news/hivemind. Click the link, scan the QR code, get 40% off. And of course, most importantly, have the greatest weapon that you can have in this all-out information war. A huge thank you to Ground News. Now back to the video. All right, folks, so take a look at this Trump statement and the report.
I'm going to read you exactly what he posted. He said, quote, any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the autopen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. He says the autopen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. He also says in that post, quote, I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden because the people who operated the autopen did so illegally. He goes on to say in that post, Joe Biden was not involved in the autopen process, and if he says he was, he'll be brought up on charges of perjury. He says, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Folks, at first it was a meme. Joe Biden's old and probably not even signing the bills. He probably doesn't even know what he's signing. That's what we said throughout most of his administration. But now it might be a full-blown scandal. And if the courts even partially side with President Trump here, this is going to be a nuclear bomb that the Democrat establishment is going to have to try to survive. I mean, we're talking about executive orders, official directives, possibly a good chunk of the pardons, maybe thousands of them, suddenly being null and void, invalid. And I gotta say, the logic seems to match. I mean, we're supposed to believe that Joe Biden signed personally over 9,000 pardons and commutations. The guy who can't even walk, can't speak, somehow did proper analysis of over 9,000 criminal files. He personally reviewed every single one, weighed the pros and cons, and then greenlit every single one of those cases. I mean, that narrative is laughable. This guy was barely present. And you just look at videos of him today. Actually, he just popped out of nowhere, I think 1 or 2 days ago, and just look at him.
I'm Tanya, nice to meet you. From Weverton, from Stanbir.
I've spent over a month in
Thank you so much for your supporting your family.
By the way, I keep pushing as hard as I can.
I know, thank you. I know.
I mean, come on, he's gone. I hate to say it, because I feel a little bit gross. I'm not trying to celebrate the fact that this is a collapsing old man, but those are just the facts. Joe Biden is barely cognitively present, and it's becoming increasingly clear that he likely was not even president. He was president in name only. And that now takes us to the Oversight Committee that's been doing a full-on investigation on this. They've been bringing in all the top Joe Biden aides, cabinet members, and key advisors. And well, the picture is pretty damning. Let me show you guys this post here from the Oversight GOP account. They write, "Watch our exclusive extended footage of Biden aides admitting how they propped him up as he declined. Makeup, teleprompters for small fundraisers, limiting events, stage managing appearances, reducing his workload, avoiding interviews, even seeking Hollywood's help for the State of the Union. They controlled everything, including who could see him. This was not a presidency, it was a production. His own aides didn't even know who was operating the autopen. President Trump just declared all of those actions null and void."
Did anybody ever contact you and say and ask you if the president actually was okay? He was doing okay?
Yes, I can remember. Can't even remember which donor. I can remember getting a call after one of his fundraisers. I can't place who it was, but I took the call, and that person was concerned. I think he had not performed particularly well, and they were struck by his use of the teleprompter in a smaller setting. We did have some outsiders at different points in the process. A guy named, I think I have it right, Michael Sheehan, who's a speech coach that has worked with President Biden. Steven Spielberg joins, I think for some sessions, I think around the State of the Union. There were topics like that. Can we be shorter and more crisp? Should we get him into settings where he's not, how we're dressed today? Conversations about, makeup and things of that nature.
Applying makeup to the president was discussed.
I was aware of the desire for him to, in public settings, make sure that makeup is applied. How do we get him more time to do his reading? How do we make sure that when he's in public, he's presenting clothing and other things at the very, very best, about ensuring that he was, that the stumble, the fall that he had, which could happen to any of us, right? That it not happen again or minimize the probability of that. So how do you reduce the number of steps and things of that nature?
It was basically a weekend at Bernie situation at the White House. And I find it very interesting how they say they don't know who was operating the autopen. Don't you find that a little odd? Especially coming from his top aides and advisors, they don't know? Yeah, well, obviously, they're saying that, at least in my view, because they were the ones operating the frickin' autopen. And now all of a sudden they're leaning into plausible deniability. Oh, well, we don't know. We don't know what happened. All this stuff was being signed, 9,000 pardons and commutations, and nobody knew who did it? Don't you think the answer immediately should be Joe Biden? Oh, well, we don't know. Could have been. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. It was all kinds of people. Well, that in its own is a frickin' circus. And I think we now go from meme of Joe Biden signing something and having no frickin' idea what he's signing, which I think was the case throughout, all of those bills that he signed publicly. But we now go from just kind of laughing about, this weekend at Bernie's situation to a legitimate constitutional scandal. And President Trump is taking it to the next level, saying all of those orders were null and void. And I think on a moral level, President Trump is absolutely correct. Even before, jumping into the legal weeds, just take a step back and ask yourself, who the hell was governing the nation? Who was actually deciding? What the hell was going on? Obviously, what happened throughout those 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency were not acceptable. And we all knew it and we all saw it. And yet we were the pariahs, right? We were the extremists, the crazies, the wackos. We were the ones being smeared as conspiracy theory nutcases. And of course, that was part of the strategy. That's part of the scandal, right? Because it's not just Joe Biden. The issue was never Joe Biden. Joe Biden was simply the puppet. The issue was the entire system, the Democrat apparatus, this corrupt deep state cabal that surrounded him and built him up. And part of that is, of course, the media. They built the information vacuum around him that allowed him to survive those 4 years. They were the ones telling you that he was sharp, vigorous. What a slap in the face that is, because the same frickin' doctors, like this guy, Dr. Vin Gupta, who told us back in July of 2024 that Joe Biden was in great health.
Cardiovascularly, he's in excellent shape. I'm a pulmonologist. I see this all the time in octogenarians. I think he's actually quite high functioning as an octogenarian. And keeping up that schedule. And so, just from this is a subjective conversation. Zeke is offering his opinion. I can tell you what I see in my own clinic, and what I see clinically, I think Joe Biden is actually quite robust.
Well, they're now gaslighting us, essentially telling us that Donald Trump is in cognitive decline these days.
It's clear that there's age-related cognitive decline. I mean, that's obvious. His response to somebody fainting in the Oval Office really conveyed that. He didn't show any signs of concern. He didn't really do anything. He was slow to respond. And that slowness and fatigue you're seeing more and more in his public events. So that's one. 2, he's confused a lot. 3, he sometimes mumbles sort of incoherent nonsense when he's asked a question in the press pool in the Oval Office.
It's unbelievable. The dishonesty is unreal. An entire corrupt apparatus that used Joe Biden essentially as a Trojan horse to push their subversive globalist agenda. It simply shouldn't be allowed to stand in good on the president for once again doing the right thing rather than moving along and blindly enabling the corrupt status quo. Every single one of those pardons and executive orders should absolutely be totally and utterly nullified, and the entire scam that was the Joe Biden presidency should be fully investigated and fully exposed. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.